Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Genesis class, live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. Always a joy to be with him. Always a class I look forward to every week. We had a good one last week, and so let's just jump right in and see how the rabbi's doing today. Shalom, Rabbi. I see you're showing a picture from India with the Brit Shalom, Brit Olam book. Do you want to tell us some more about how that trip went?
I think that Angela and Mike will tell you from where I'm showing this and with whom I'm sitting.
That's Jerusalem.
That's Jerusalem, and
Colin and Sandra.
from Noahide, UK, there with you on holiday at the moment.
Exactly.
Oh, my misunderstanding.
It's okay. It's okay. I think I saw them on the Zoom also with us, no? Where they are. They were before that. Yes, Collins is with us. I don't know if he can hear us or not. They're visiting Jerusalem, and I sat down with them last week. And you're all welcome to visit Jerusalem. You know, it's we are we are welcoming everybody to come to Jerusalem. Everything is fine here. I hope everything is fine with everybody else. India, we have a lot other pictures. In India, you will see me with all of the flowers. You know, like all the elephants. You know, they're putting all and the elephants all the flowers also on me. Even though my nose is not so big like the elephants, but, everything is fine. Good evening, everybody. I hope everything is fine. We can start straight ahead. I also think that last week was a good class, was an important class, and I hope that we'll continue on, you know, with the same things, with the same knowledge. Since this is a Genesis class, so Colin is saying something. Since this is a Genesis class, we call this a Genesis class, even though we're learning a lot of important fundamental issues from the Hebrew tradition. Today, when I sat down earlier and I spoke with the Indian people about something, so I mentioned that there are few gaps when we're trying to learn the Bible that we need to adjust. One of them, that we are not in the era of the prophecy, and this is where the rabbis are preserving this era of the prophecy until today, even though today it's a different era. And to understand the Bible, we have another gap, very important one, and this is the gap of the language. The Bible was given in the Hebrew language, and the Hebrew language have a unique way of working, where every letter is also a word. And when you're trying to build up a word with few letters, basically what you're doing is you're building up a neighborhood. Okay, it's like a sentence, because every word have also few letters inside, and each letter is by itself also a word with a meaning. I want to give an example. Okay, so let's start from really from the beginning of everything. And in the beginning it says, where is my, I think this is it. Yes. At the beginning it says, and we already mentioned this, that here we have a problem because it's not the right translation. It's not in the beginning of God's creation of the heavens and earth, but it's more two words. The B letter is because, and the next word is Reshit, okay? It's saying it's because of the Reshit, of the firstborn. This is one way to understand this. Let me maybe open some sort of a Word document. It will help us to understand what I'm going to say now. So just let me know that you do see my screen. You see my screen, everybody? Okay, so we will start with the, so let's do it Hebrew. It is Hebrew. Okay, fair enough. And let's do it on the other side. And I will do this also big, so everybody will be able to see. Then bigger. Let's do it. Okay, let's go like that. So the first word of the Bible is Bereshit. Okay. One interpretation that I gave, it's not me. Okay, we have a book with 70 explanations for this word. Let me show you one thing. Okay, so I gave one interpretation. In a moment, we're going to go back to my interpretation. Before that, let me go. We can spell those letters. Okay, I know that you don't know Hebrew, but you will see that what I'm doing is thing. You can also split this word to two words like that. Okay, what I did here, look good. Okay. I will do it even bigger. Okay, so it will be much easier to see. The word Bereshit, okay, can be also split to two words. The first three letters is one thing, and the last three letters in a different way. What is the meaning of this? This word is saying basically the word, I'll go one step downwards, okay? Creation. This is the first word. Bara is creation. Come on. Do this to me. I need to do it a bit smaller. Here it is. The first word is creation. And the second word, is two. What we call the okay. In Hebrew, okay, the word shtei is two. So basically what we have here, God created two Bibles, okay? He created the written one and the oral one. We need to understand what is the oral one, how it's working, how come the sages have the, I will say, the power and the possibility of adjusting the written one to what is life of today, because there is also the possibility or the timing of the world. Today, the world is not what the world 2,000 years ago. So there is some sort of adjustment that we need to do, and how we keeping on one side the fundamental rules, and on the other side we adjusting things. But God created the first word. God created two Bibles, the oral one, the written one, and the oral one. The oral one is through the rabbis. Okay, so this is, I will call it second thing that we showed you. Okay, Bereshit is bara shtei. He created two Bibles. Okay, they're written in there. The first explanation that I gave is going like that. We say B is because okay, because come on. B, and the second word is Reshit. And the word Reshit is word first burn. How do you write someone that is firstborn? Okay, this is a. Now let's try to understand that. What is the firstborn? What is the firstborn that because of that God decided to create it? Here it is. Okay, let's do it in highlights. It's much easier. What is the firstborn that because of that it's so important for God to create the world? Now, I'm not going to give the answer. Let's go to the sages. But before we go to the sages, let's understand that it's working with a it's working with a very simple logic, okay? And we're not going to invent things. We need to find in the written Bible places or things that are being, I will say, being described as the firstborn. Do you have an example, people? what was defined as a firstborn? Israel is one of the things, okay?
Isaac.
Israel, Reshit Bechuri. Yes, Lara, you said also something. Fair enough. Israel is one thing. Yes, please. What else? So we say what you said now.
Jacob's son.
Jacob's son. How many?
Yeah.
How many kids of Jacob's son was the firstborn?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
How many wives did he have?
I don't know.
If you, fair enough, fair enough. It's okay if you don't know. We just need to read the Bible. It's continuous in the Genesis book. He had 4 women. Okay, he had Rachel and Leah, and then you have also Bilhah and Zilpah, and each one of them had a firstborn. Okay, so we have Esau was the firstborn, right? It's not mentioned about him. This word, the firstborn. The word Reshit, the firstborn, is not mentioned on Esau, but he was the firstborn. And he didn't have the possibility to cooperate with the secondary of him, with Abel. He killed Abel. While Jacob is managing to do, now I will be more exact, to do tshuva, not repentance, to do tshuva, and to have in his home 4 firstborn people, kids. Okay, at the beginning, they also had a big fight one with each other, especially Judah and Joseph. Okay, and at the end, they managed to cooperate together. And this is where we can close the Genesis book. Okay, because we did tshuva, it's more deeper than repentance. Okay, we did a full, completely tshuva for the sins of Esau and Abel. Sorry, Cain and Abel. Okay, when we're closing this, when we're managing to start to live together, even though the firstborn is in a fight with another secondary firstborn, I'll say it like that, but they're managing to cooperate together, to do a forgiveness one to each other, and to live together. This is where we're starting to repair the problem that started with the beginning of the world. But the word Reshit in the Bible is not being mentioned not on Esau, and it's some sort of a way it's being mentioned on Reuven, but it's again it's not our sages are not bringing it. Okay, I will give another thing that is being said on the Midrash is saying 5 things. Okay, our sages are saying 5 things. One is the Torah. Okay, because of the Torah, let me write it down. Okay, we'll give it the all 5. Let's go get smaller. Let's go step by step. I will give all the 5. Okay. Here we go. Okay, the first one is the Torah. In English, good. Torah. The Torah is being mentioned, or the word Reshit, this word, Reshit, firstborn, is being said on the Torah. Okay? Second thing also we say about is El nation. Okay? And now I'm going to surprise you. 3, 4, and 5. They're more or less together. Okay? We're speaking about, I will write it in Hebrew, okay? And I will explain everything. We're speaking about Bikurim, Chala, Matnot Kehuna. It's not Matnot Kehuna, just a moment. Masot, sorry. Masot. What are those 3 things? In a moment, we're going to explain this one. This, I'm going to speak about this today, and we're going to understand it. Chala is when you doing bread. Okay, when you're organizing the bread, challah is more for the Shabbat, you call it challah, but basically when you're doing bread and you want to reorganize your bread, and you organize, in the old days, you didn't went to the bakery to buy bread. You did it by home. Still today, the women of the Israeli nation are trying to do their own bread for Shabbat. Okay, it's until today. But when you're doing bread, there is the first part of the bread you need to give to the priest, to the Kohen. Okay, halacha till today. Okay, Masrot is to take the first part or the best part of the beginning and to give it to the priest. And Bikurim, we're going to read it now. I want to show you first of all that it's being written down in this way, so it will be clear what I'm saying. Again, our sages, they're not inventing things. They're trying to show where things are being written down and to understand it. Let's go on before that. Please read verse number 19.
Uh, 19. The choicest of the first fruits of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk.
What is written down here? Look, please. How does the Torah in Hebrew is saying the first fruits? Please read here. See here. Do you see? Do you see? Look here. It's why can't you see it? Everybody. Lara, can you see it?
I think I have the different setup for the Zoom. It's covering. 1 second. Okay, I got it now.
You see it now? This word is exactly the same word that we're using here, right? Rashid. It's the same word, right? Firstborn. Exactly the same. Rashid bikurat matcha. So we're speaking about the first fruit that you have in your field. Okay, I have apple tree. So the first apple tree that is going out, I need to bring it to the priest in the Temple Mount. Let's see it for a moment, which with much more broader way. We read this Shabbat, and we need to understand why, for God's sake, it's so important that because of that, God created the world. Okay, this is what we're saying. Because of that, God created the world. What is happening here? We need to, so first of all, let's learn it a bit. Let's understand what is happening. So for that, I'm jumping for a moment to, do you recognize this part? I think that you recognize what I'm doing now. Now we will continue on. Let's go to Deuteronomy. And this is something that we read this Shabbat, okay? This Shabbat, we read it. I think 2 chapters before that. Okay, we need to read a few verses, okay? And it's from 1 till, let me see exactly, until 11, okay? Let's read it for a moment. Let's see, first of all, to understand what's happening here. Please.
Okay, verse 1. And it will be when you come into the land which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance, and you possess it and settle in it, 2, that you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the ground which you will bring from your land which the Lord your God has given you, and you shall put them into a basket and go to the place which the Lord your God will choose to have his name dwell there. 3, and you shall come to the Cohen who will be serving in those days, and say to him, I declare this day to the Lord your God that I have come into the land which the Lord swore to our forefathers to give us. And the Cohen will take the basket from your hand, laying it before the altar of the Lord your God. And
before we'll continue, just a moment, before we'll continue. First of all, it's very simple. We need to take the firstborn or the first part of the things that is going out from our land, you know, if it's an apple tree, if it's an orange tree, whatever it is, and we need to bring it. And the truth is, it's a bit more complicated. Never mind exactly. Okay, it's from the seven main trees that is the blessing of the Hebrew nation. Okay, for example, the olive, there are 7 things that we need to bring. And those first things we need to bring to the Kohen, to the priest, and to tell him something. In a moment, we're going to see what exactly we're going to tell him. This is more or less the commandment that we need to do. Think about this. For hundreds of years, this is what we need to do. Now let's see for a moment what exactly he's supposed to say when you bring it. This is also exactly what you need to say, please. From 5 to 11, please.
All right, 5. And you shall call out and say before the Lord your God, an Aramean sought to destroy my forefather, and he went down to Egypt and sojourned there with a small number of people, and there he became a great, mighty, and numerous nation. And the Egyptians treated us cruelly and afflicted us, and they imposed hard labor upon us. So we cried out to the Lord, God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. And the Lord brought us out from Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great awe and with signs and wonders. And he brought us to this place, and he gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first of the fruit of the ground, which you, O Lord, have given to me. Then you shall lay it before the Lord your God, and prostrate yourself before the Lord your God. 11, then you shall rejoice with all the good that the Lord your God has granted you and your household, you, the Levite, and the stranger who is among you.
Okay, so we have here something very, very interesting, I will say. Suddenly, what I need to say is more or less the foundation of my history. I was already once in Lebanon's house, and then from there I went to Egypt, and they treated us in a very bad way. So we cried and we prayed in front of God, and he brought us back to our homeland, and I'm thankful for that, and this is why I'm bringing you the firstborn of things. Can you explain to me a bit? What do you understand from this commandment? Before we'll continue on, I'm going to show more things, okay? But please share with me. What do you think about this commandment? I think it's
what
please.
I'm hearing
Yes.
is that you take which is most valuable to you, which for me would be my firstborn, and give it over to my creator.
Very nice. Very nice. You're taking the most valuable thing and you give it to the creator, right? The opposite way of Cain. Cain took the first for himself and gave God the leftovers. So we basically doing some sort of I will say, fixing the thing of Cain. Very nice. Is there anything else that somebody wants to say, to share, please?
I have a thought.
Yes.
That this commandment is not applied to Israel when they are in the land, because before they couldn't do this, right? Because they weren't in the land. So now they're entering in the land. They're obligated to bring the first fruit.
Okay, so it's written down in the beginning, okay, that when God will bring you to this land, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So it's something that is related with the land.
Land, yes.
Exactly. Very good. Now, basically, we have here, this is very good. Is there anything else that you want to say before we'll continue? Those 2 points are very, very important points. Anything else on your mind?
It's directly proportional. I mean, God gave them the land, so he's requiring back the tithe from that land. So there's a justness in it.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very good point also. Please, Angela, please.
Well, when you stop and think that Hashem has fed these people all the time, right up to coming into the land, it is a way of giving a thanks back, in a sense. You're paying a debt back. And if it's your first fruits and you're desperate to eat it yourselves,
No.
to have to part with it, it's a big thing.
It's interesting. and all of you are going more or less on the same line, that it's some sort of a debt, some sort of something that we are obligated to do, that we must do, that we're giving, as some sort of a payment or something like that. I want to say that, first of all, what you're saying, it's all right. I'm not saying it's not right, things, but there is something else also here that is more on the side of the thankfulness. And we mentioned more than once that God can do everything in this world, except for one thing. Okay, if we can say so. There's one thing that he can't really do. He can't thank anybody for giving him anything, because he's only giving, he's not receiving anything. And this is where we, as a human being, become something much more, I will say, human, when we know also to thank God, give him thankfulness back. And this is something that we're doing here. The most simplest thing here is not only because we obligated or because we owe him, those are good things. Okay, we also owe him our life. Who gave us life? Who really gave us life? Okay, our parents, but they're not only themselves. Okay, it's also connected with the soul, with life that we have. Until today, the science doesn't really know how to define life. So we have obligation of thankfulness for God for all of the life that we have, that we got from him. And who gave us land? God gave us land. Okay, fair enough. So we're doing some sort of a thankfulness. I want us for a moment to see, to describe, it's an interesting way that the Mishnah, okay, the Mishnah is the secondary, it's what we call the Torah Shebe'al Peh. We said before that God created two Bible, okay? One was by heart, and the other one, what we call Be'al Peh, okay? An oral one, and the other one is the written one. The oral one was written down 2,000 years ago. And we have leftovers of this. It was much bigger than that, but this is what they managed to remember and to write down. And this is called the Mishnah. The Mishnah is the oral one. And after that, it became also the Babylon Talmud that is explaining the Mishnah. And from there, we have a lot of books. But basically, the oral one is the Mishnah. So let's go for a moment to the Mishnah, and let's see how exactly they are defining what happened there. We have in the Mishnah, sorry, I didn't open the right one. We have in the Mishnah, let me move you a bit so it won't bother me. In the Mishnah, we have a special, we'll call it a part that is called Bikurim. Bikurim is the same thing that we're doing now, okay? Here is the Mishnah. I'll go, as you will see, Bikurim. Let me do this in English. How do you do this in English? Just a moment. Let's go to chapter 3. It is. What's the name of the Mishnah? Mishnah Bikurim, you see? And this is the oral Bible. So it's related exactly to the thing that we read now. Now let's read it for a moment. It's an interesting show exactly how this thing of the Bikurim have been set up. Please, Dan.
Okay, verse 1. How does one set aside Bikurim? A man goes down into his field. He sees a fig that ripened, or a cluster of grapes that ripened, or a pomegranate that ripened. He ties a reed rope around it and says, "Let these be Bikurim." Rabbi Shimon says, even so, he must again designate them as Bikurim after they have been plucked from the soil. And verse Part 2, how were the Bikurim taken up to Jerusalem? All the inhabitants of the city of the Ma'amad would assemble in the city of the Ma'amad, and they would spend the night in the open street, and they would not entering any of the houses. Early in the morning, the officer would say, "Let us arise and go up to Zion into the house of the Lord our God," from Jeremiah
Just a moment,
31:5.
before we'll continue, we're speaking here about a lot of, all the people from the fields around are going to go to the main city of this area, okay? And they're going to sleep outside. And in the morning, one of the people is saying, okay, they're stating this verse from Jeremiah, let's go up to Jerusalem. Let's continue on. Let's see. Think about this for a moment. In your town, suddenly a lot of people are coming. In a moment, you will see with what things they can. It's a parade. It's a big parade. This is a parade, a full parade. You will see. Okay, let's continue on, please.
Part 3. Those who lived near Jerusalem would bring fresh figs and grapes, while those who lived far away would bring dried figs and raisins. An ox would go in front of them, his horns bedecked with gold and with an olive crown on its head. The flute would play before them until they would draw close to Jerusalem. When they drew close to Jerusalem, they would send messengers in advance, and they would adorn their bikurim. The governors and chiefs and treasurers of the temple would go out to greet them, and according to the rank of the entrance, they would go forth. All the skilled artisans of Jerusalem would stand up before them and greet them, saying, "Our brothers, men of such and such a place, we welcome you in peace."
Look at the big parade here. Think about this for a moment. The ox, the big ox there with the horns that are with a golden horn, with also olives there, and they are all dancing with a how did you say it here? One of the with music, and they're going to Jerusalem. And suddenly, from Jerusalem, people are going outside and saying to them, "Welcome to Jerusalem." Let's continue on. Let's see more. Let's see 4, please.
The flute would play before them until they reached the Temple Mount. When they reached the Temple Mount, even King Agrippus would take the basket and place it on his shoulders and walk as far as the temple court. When he got to the temple court, the Levites would sing the song, "I will extol you, O Lord, for you have raised me up, and you have not let my enemies rejoice over me." Psalms 30, verse 2. 5, the birds tied to the basket were offered as whole burnt offerings, and those which they held in their hands they gave to the priests.
Let's read 6 also.
6, while the basket was still on his shoulders, he recites from, "I acknowledge this day before the Lord your God that I have entered the land that the Lord swore to our fathers to assign us," from Deuteronomy 26:3, until he completes the passage. Rabbi Judah said, until he reaches, "My father was a fugitive Aramean." When he reaches, "My father was a fugitive Aramean," he takes the baskets off his shoulders and holds it by its edges, and the priest places his hand beneath it and waves it. He then recites from "My father was a fugitive Aramean" until he completes the entire passage. He then deposits the basket by the side of the altar, bow, and depart.
And let's continue a bit more, not too much. 7 and 8, okay?
Originally, all who knew how to recite would recite, while those who did not know how to recite, others would read it for them, and they would repeat the words. But when they refrained from bringing, they decreed that they should read the words to both those who could and those who could not recite, so that they could repeat after them.
The reach.
So a big ceremony for sure.
8 and 9. Yeah, it's a big ceremony here. Okay. 8 and 9. I'm only going to
8. The rich would bring their bikurim in baskets overlaid with silver or gold, while the poor used wicker baskets of peeled willow branches, and the baskets and the bikurim were given to the priests. Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas says they would decorate the bikurim with produce other than the 7 species, but Rabbi Akiva says they may decorate only with produce of the 7 kinds.
Okay, so fair enough. This is more or less some sort of an argument between the rabbis exactly what they have, or say the possibility of decorating those bikurim. But look for a moment what is happening here. For hundreds of years, okay, let's speak about the first Temple Mount. It was being built up after 480 years that the Hebrew nation came to the Hebrew land, and it was standing for 400 years. And for, 600, 700, 800 years after the Hebrew nation went out from Egypt, we're speaking about doing some sort of a big parade, okay, that people are gathering together sleeping outside, not going inside, and then in the morning, starting to shout, wake up, we're all going to Jerusalem, let's go to Jerusalem. And what are we saying when we're going to Jerusalem? 700 years ago, 800 years ago, my forefathers were in Egypt, and now God gave us this land. Think about this for a moment, okay? Such a parade. Now, it's coming from the north side of Israel, from the east side of Israel, from everywhere, This week from here, this week from there. Think about this for a moment, that you have a store in Jerusalem, and every 2 days you need to go out and to accept the people that are coming from each places of the nation, okay, of this land. So we have here, I want to say, and now I will start to connect us a bit why our sages are saying that this is one of the reasons why God created this world, because it's giving us not only the thankfulness that is one level ahead than anything else, as a people that you can say also thank you. Okay, God can't say thank you. I can say thank you for God, but it's more than that. Think about this for a moment. I'm becoming part of a big chain. Try to think for yourself, each one of us, okay, for a moment, about who were our forefathers 500 years ago. Can we say exactly who are our forefathers 500 years ago, 600 years ago, 800 years ago? Go to the second temple mount, okay, that was built up after 70 years for another 400 years. 1,200 years ago. Can we say who are our forefathers? Do we know who are our forefathers? Okay, do we know today who exactly was on the boat with the Columbus who exposed America? We don't know. We know Columbus. The Hebrew nation in the Bible have a very specific list. Exactly who went out from Egypt. Okay? Who are the fathers? Who are the families? Everything. It's written down in Numbers twice. In the beginning of the 40 years and the end of the 40 years. And when people came inside to the land, they were nominated, okay? This is my family. This is my family. And everything was, fixed. And suddenly, it's bringing more meaning to my life to realize that I'm part of a journey of bringing the presence of God to the world. So it's not only a thankfulness, that it's a very high level of things, okay? I'm not only paying my debt, I'm also giving thanks for God for everything that He's giving me. But I'm also part of a journey that is bringing the words of God to this world, and there is a meaning to my life. The meaning of my life is very important. When I'm trying to think, okay, I'm going to my grandfather that I knew him. I knew my grandfather. I had the blessings to see him and to know him. I didn't know my great-grandfather. He passed away a long time before I was in this world. But he knew my great-grandfather because he was, it was his father. And I know stories about him. And he passed away before the Hebrew state became a reality. And I'm trying to ask myself, and for years I was doubting inside myself, why didn't they convert it to Christian? Why did they stick with this Judaism? What held them that they didn't bow, okay, to other beliefs, whatever it is? And I think that what was in their head was they were learning this part of the Bible, and they said to themselves, there will come a time that our kids, grandkids, grandkids will go in this land and will bring the bikurim to say to be thankfulness for God, and also to understand that we are part of a chain that is starting somewhere there in Egypt when Abraham started, and will finalize where all of the world will have the knowledge of God. And they said to themselves, I'm not going to break this chain. I'm going to stick to this chain. This is why God created this world. He created this world because he said, man needs to knowledge me. The human being have the possibility of understanding, of knowledging, learning, okay? He have his free will and everything else. We will speak about this next week, hopefully, a bit more in a profound way. And our forefathers that had a very hard period of time with a lot of stress and a lot of killings and a lot of humble things, and they were in the ghettos, whatever it is, they were all the time thinking to themselves, those prophets will come to our life. There's a prophet that's saying that there will be a lot of kids. You know what? Let me open it, okay? Let's open for a moment another prophecy. Here it is. You can see my screen, right? You can see the let's go for a moment to the prophets. Okay, I went to Zechariah. Let's go to Zechariah 8, for example. Jump to Zechariah 8, okay? Let's read for a moment. Verse number 4. Please, Dan.
Zechariah chapter 8, verse 4 says, So said the Lord of hosts, old men and women shall yet sit in the streets of Jerusalem, each man with his staff in his hand because of old age.
Now let's read also verse number 5.
And the streets of the city shall be filled with boys and girls playing in its streets.
Just to realize, okay, not the Maimonides. We have also the Ramban, okay, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. 900 years ago, he came to Jerusalem, and he didn't have 10 Jewish people to have what we call the minyan, to pray together. Today we have, in Jerusalem, more than 1,200 synagogues. You realizing what I'm saying? Each synagogue is between 50, 60 people to 300 people, 600 people, depends on the size of the synagogue. Exactly what's written down here is what's happening today. Okay? Now, we had, for 2,000 years, nothing was here. Mark Twain is saying in 1888, when he visited Israel, he came to the port of Jaffa, where Jonah went, okay, Jaffa, and he went from Jaffa to Jerusalem, through Jaffa Gate, okay, from Jaffa to Jerusalem. And he's saying that all the way, he saw one Arab, all of the way, and he's saying that everything is here, like, you know, desert, nothing. Today, when you're driving, you're getting, you know, stuck in with all of the other cars on the road. This is what held people, and what we have here, we need to understand, it's giving profound purpose in life. When we're realizing that there is an aim to this creation, and it will become the same. It will become to reality. Let me show another verse, okay? Today we have so many what we call playgrounds, and also schools. So this thing of the city with a lot of boys and playing and everything else, it's happening. It's happening all the time. There's another verse, just a moment. I don't see it now, but it says that we will buy a lot of houses in Jerusalem. Okay, it's not here. I can find it if you want for a moment.
I saw it. It was right above, up, where it says what? 8. 8.
8 is not this.
They shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. No.
Let me see, I can find it like that. It's in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 32:15. Okay. No, let's see it here. Jeremiah 32. Yeah, here it is. Please read verse 15.
Verse 15, Jeremiah 32, verse 15. For so says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, houses and fields and vineyards shall be purchased again in this land.
And this is happening. Today it's happening. Believe me, we have people from all over the world who are buying.
Yes, you gave me a bottle of wine from there. Beautiful.
Amazing, yes. Now, when you're starting to realize all of this, you're putting not only purpose in your life, but you're putting your life in the right, or say, proportion, exactly what is the aim of your life and how to bring more fulfillment to your life. And this is where, and I'm going back to this Bikurim, what we call Bikurim commandments. Okay, let me go back to the Deuteronomy and see something that is very important also that people don't realize in the beginning. I think it was 30, maybe it was 28. I think it was 28.
Rabbi, for the YouTube audience, can we tell them the time period of Yirmiyahu, like the age?
Yirmiyahu was in the age and the time of the destroyment of the first Temple Mount. The first Temple Mount, not the second one. The first one. And he said, exactly, and he's saying, okay, that it's true that now we have the Babylon exile, but you will see that people will buy here also still all those places. I think it's for 28. Just a moment, let me see. No, 27. I want to show here another thing that is being hinted. It's not hinted, it's being said loud and clear in the verses here. But when you're putting, the writer will say, mindsets with your actions, it's not a coincidence that you're doing this ceremony of going up to Jerusalem with everybody and doing some sort of a parade and everything else. Because when you're putting the right mindset, not only of the thankfulness, but also of the, I will say, the stream from the beginning of the creation to the end, and understanding where you in the part of the history of this thing. There's another very interesting thing that is happening here. Okay, this one before that. Just a moment. I'm sorry. 26. Let's see for a moment in the last verse here of this it. Please read verse number 11.
Deuteronomy 26, verse 11. Then you shall rejoice with all the good that the Lord your God has granted you and your household, you, the Levite, and the stranger who is among you.
Now I'm going to say something very that people don't realize usually, but we must say, okay? We have 3 legs, okay? 3 legs of the way that we are worshiping God. One is love to God. The second one is fear from God. And the most important thing is when you have those two in the right way, you also have what we call to rejoice with God. V'samachta b'chol hatov. You need to rejoice. You need to have good feeling of joy. I'm going. Let me show you this to you in the Kuzari. Okay, let's go for a moment to the Kuzari book. Unfortunately, I'm not teaching the Kuzari too much in those days. Let's find it in the English one. This is a Kuzari, right? Let's go to the third part. Excellent. Okay, and it starts with a question. And according to our view, servant of God. Okay, So he's saying here, what exactly is the servant of God? I won't go inside. We don't have enough time for going inside too much to this. I'm urging you to read the beginning of essay 3, okay? But the most important part, he's doing here something, as usual, Rabbi Levi is doing something very interesting. He's asking, I will say the king is asking, who is the servant of God? And the Rabbi Levi is showing or explaining the king of the kingdom, okay? And he's saying to him, but I'm asking you for the servant of God, and you're giving me something of the kingdom. And then he's answering him, but here it's continuing with that you need to have 3 main things, okay? One is the fear of God, the other one is the joy, the other one is the love of God, and the other one is the joy. And those 3 together, this is how you are worshiping God in the right way. It's not only by fearing alone, it's not only by loving alone, and it's not, and when you do those 2 in the right way, in the right balance, you also have a lot of joy in your life. And this is exactly the thing of the Bikurim. Read it here later on, read it here, it's a bit long, this is why I'm not going to read it now, but it's at the beginning here, okay? You can finish, around 6 you can finish it, okay? You don't need to read more than 6. You will find it inside here, okay, in the Kuzari. And this is exactly what is happening with this Bikurim. So on one side, you have, I will say, let me summarize for a moment. We started with the question, why God created this world? And this is basically the word Bereshit. Bereshit is because of something God created the world. And we answered that one of the things that is, the main thing is because of the firstborn. So we understand that the Torah is the firstborn of God. We understand that Israel is the firstborn people. Okay, fair enough. But then we asked ourselves, but why do we say Bikurim, Chalama, so those things that basically are saying that I'm giving the firstborn thing, the main part that I have, to the Kohen, to the priest, basically to God, okay, to them. And the answer that we're giving here is that it's giving us the right proportion in life, first of all, by the duty of giving God the first part. And we understand our, I will say, position here in this world, that we are secondary. God is the first one, we are secondary. Secondly, is also something that is related with the thankfulness for God, something that God doesn't have the possibility of doing it. And the third one, and this is why I showed Bikurim that we read this Shabbat, when we're realizing that the Bikurim is putting us in the right position of the history of the Hebrew nation, and the aim that we have, or the main purpose that we have in this, I will say, history, to bring the words of God and the knowledge of God to the world, this is putting us in much more calm situation, wherever we are in the part of history, to understand that we are part of something much bigger than just me, myself. And this is giving us comfort on one side and the joy on the other side. It's much easier for us to be in the right position, okay, with this thing.
I'm not even here yet. Why am I not here?
Sorry, Heather? Questions still now. This is the main thing I wanted to show today. By the way, we read it yesterday, the Bikurim, but it's related also to Genesis, so I said let's explain this a bit. And this, only one more note that I'm going to say, on this specific word that we call Bereshit, okay? On this word, the first word of the Bible, we have a book that have, listen good, 70 explanation to this word. I told you that in the Hebrew language, basically this is a neighborhood, and you just need to know how to play with those words, okay, to start to see something else. For example, if you will look good, you will see that the word Shabbat is also inside. You have the Shin, you have the B, you have the Taf, okay? So you have also the Shabbat. There are a lot of interesting words here or meaning to this first word of the Bible. But we learned today one of them because of the opening of the Genesis. Yes, people, please. I hope it was clear, but I will say maybe another last sentence, and then we'll have time for questions. Okay. On Yom Kippur, we have three main, I will say, holidays now. We have Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year. We have Yom Kippur, the day of the forgiveness and repentance, Tshuva, and we have Sukkot. Now, Sukkot is the joy day. V'samachta b'chol hatov. Joy, have a lot of joy in this celebration. Yom Kippurim, it's the day of the fear. Okay, we're standing in front of God and He's judging us. And Rosh Hashanah is the day of the love. We are accepting God to become our Almighty with love to Him, for accepting Him to become our God. Okay, so we have also those three with love, fear, and joy. Again, we came back to those three things that are the basic way of life. Those two are giving us also the joy in the right way, when we're doing this in the right adjustment. I finished for today. Please, questions, something you have to ask, to know, to, I don't know, whatever it is on your mind. Please, feel comfortable.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I
Yes,
just
Lara.
want to make a comment. Some time ago, I bought this book. It's Rebbe Nachman's Torah on Bereshit. And first 40 pages, it explains the word Bereshit. And up until I read this, it was just like, in the beginning, God created the world. And once I start reading this book and start understanding that word itself contains so many different meanings, not just the word itself, but the letter B in itself that contains so many meanings. And it was very like a moment of enlightenment, let's say.
Yeah, first of all, I agree with you. And I think that we said it earlier today, right, Bart? We explained it a bit earlier today also. It's a problem. And what the problem is that the Torah was given in the Hebrew language. And there isn't really a good way to translate the Torah to other languages. And you won't start with translating a 6 words verse with 40 pages. You can't do that. Now, especially where now you're starting to realize why in the Christian faith they did all the best not to speak about the oral Bible. You saw now, I showed you now part of the written Bible. We read it in Deuteronomy, and part of the oral Bible in Masechet Bikurim that is explaining. Okay, we just saw one part of chapter. We have 4 chapters there. Okay, 3 chapters there. Okay, about the Bikurim, but it was given together. It was given, in the written one. But the sages of the Christian people, they were very afraid that people will get exposed to the full explanation of things. And this is where they said, no, the rabbis invented everything. You can't, any text that you have, any text, you have a lot of interpretation to those texts. And I can prove here why we must have also an oral Bible from the written Bible. That the written Bible is saying to us, referring us to the oral Bible. But it's not the issue now, okay? We can show examples. But the main thing here is, first of all, it's a different language. Secondly, this language, we have also more things that explaining what to do exactly. And I'm not speaking about the very nice, interesting episode that you sent us in the group, Lara, okay? That is saying basically, by the way, I don't know if you caught this, but I'm urging everybody to see this chapter. It's a very nice chapter. But it's also not dealing at all with the Hebrew Bible. I don't know if you saw. It's dealing only with the Christian Bible, and how in each place they different interest. This is why they added things or reduced things. The Hebrew Bible that we have today have something like 60 questions. No, sorry, about letters. We have something like maybe 10 or 8 questions about letters, but we have, what they found in the Qumran places, the word to word what we have today in the Bible. So the Hebrew Bible didn't have any changes inside. The same thing from the beginning till today. The oral Bible had some sort of, growing up or something like that. And when you don't know the Hebrew language and you don't want to listen to the rabbis that are not inventing things, but are preserving the era of the prophecy, so you basically losing all the meaning of the Bible. Very simple. Yes, Lisette, I agree with you. Yes, Lisette. Good to see you.
Okay. This is something that we have in the 13 principles of Noahism, where it says that the Bible that we have now, it's the same Torah. The Torah that we have now is the same Torah that Moshe had. There hasn't been any change in it. And I think that a nice way to see it also is because when you start applying these principles in your life, you start to get in touch, in contact with reality, it's the truth that comes out. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't the real Torah. So it's really the word of God, because it is true. You're in contact with the truth of yourself, of reality, and everything that is around you. So if it wasn't like that, I think it wouldn't have been. And it's not a matter of believing, it's a matter of seeing the truth, seeing how complex this world is, how complex you are as a human being. If you would call yourself a machine, you're a very complete machine. There are so many things that you see, and so much knowledge from the sages. It's infinite, like the God that we believe in. It's infinite. Every day you learn more. Every day you go even deeper, and every day you see more things. So it's an infinite learning. Am I wrong in this perception?
No, not. I will answer you with a story. Okay. First of all, you are right. You are right, but I will answer with a story. You all want to listen to a story? Yeah, we want a story. Yes. I was learning for a very long time, years, with my rabbi. He passed away a few months ago, Rabbi Chaim, and he was, I think, one of the biggest experts that I know, who knew how to speak with a different audience. Okay, there's a different, there are those who are more knowledgeable, less knowledgeable, young age, old age. And once he came to us and he said that he have a problem. And his problem is that he was invited to kids 6 years old, okay? And there was a celebration that they're getting the first Chumash, the first part of the Bible, Genesis. And they wanted him to speak there, okay? And he said to us, I don't know what to say to them. What am I going to say to them? And then he said to us, I have an idea. Tell me if it's a good one. This is what I told them. I want to hear your advice. And he said to them like that. He said, kids, you're today in grade 1. We started the school yesterday, a few days ago. You're today in grade 1, and you're getting a book of grade 1, while your brothers, sisters in grade 3 are not using the same book. They're getting books of grade 3. And you have also your parents who are reading books of the university. It's different books. You're finishing with the books of grade 1, you're putting them aside. Okay? You're finishing the books of grade 3 or 5, you're putting them aside. You're finishing the books of the university, you're putting them aside. You're going up, you're growing up. But there's one book that you're getting, and you're learning it today. And also your fathers and mothers are learning from this book. And also your grandfather and grandmother are learning from this book. This is the Bible, the words of God. And every time and every year that you're learning this book, those are new insights that you're starting to realize because God is speaking with you. You just need to approach this book with the right humble and not to think that you know everything and the book is wrong. No, if something is unclear, so you need to work harder to understand it. But and you can learn this book, this grade A, that you know, just got this book. You can learn this book with your grandfather. You know, it's an amazing thought for me to say something like that to grade A. You know, those who just came to the school and learn how to speak, how to write, how to read, because it's connecting them to the whole history of the nation, okay, of the Hebrew nation. You're connected with your parents and with your grandparents. Let's learn together. And you're more than right. Each time that you're learning it, you're learning more insights. You're understanding it in a much more profound way. You're managing to change your behavior to a better way, to a better stage. You're more than right. So I gave you back with a story to strengthen your idea.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Yeah, it's something that I lived when I started learning the Torah. Of course, it was in a Messianic congregation. And I said, what is so different between this and other religions? You're going to study this book every year, and then when it's finished, you start all over again. What's new about that? It's the same thing. I was so naive when I was starting to see that now I see that it's my life. I don't think it's going to be enough to see so many things and so profound how much it tells you about yourself. I'm learning so much about me, which is really sad. Who are you? Oh my God. So it's every year it's different. It's so much, and I'm really thankful to Hashem and to you, the Hebrew nation, and
Hebrew
to you
nation,
for teaching us so many important and beautiful things.
Okay. This is our mission. I'm happy that we have today the possibility of doing this mission, all of us. Okay. Fair enough. You're welcome.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Yeah, it's just awesome. It's exciting to get that conceptualization of the infinite in Hashem, and just even one little glimpse of it is enough to draw you in and build on, and then to learn more. It's just, it's when you realize the more you learn, the less you really know, because of the infinite nature of Hashem. And just beautiful. And we're so glad that you take the time out of your busy schedule to share with us, Rabbi. Now, Rosh Hashanah is on the 16th of September this year, and Yom Kippur is on the 25th. Are we okay to broadcast for next week, Rabbi?
Next week, we have the possibility, and we will broadcast. On Rosh Hashanah, that it's Motzei Rosh Hashanah, the end of Rosh Hashanah, I don't know yet. It's a good question. I don't know. Yom Kippur, 2 weeks from now, for sure we won't be able to do one because I'm going to be on Yom Kippur. And Sukkot also, probably we won't be able to do this because we're going to be in Rabbi Sherki's Sukkah with more Noahide people from all over the world. So next week we will do, and let's discuss about the Motzei Rosh Hashanah. Let's see what will happen, okay? But next week, hopefully, we're going to meet each other. Colin, it's good to see you. You came back to your place.
Yeah, I just came back now from a hotel room. Greetings, everyone from Jerusalem.
From Jerusalem. Shalom.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So hopefully next week we're going to meet, and then we will discuss the next coming few weeks, because you're right, we have the holidays
yeah.
this year. This on Sunday. Well, the holidays are falling up on Sunday. Yes, you're more than right.
All
Okay.
right. Does anybody have any final comments or questions before we end the class? Anybody in the Zoom room?
Yeah, I have a comment. We are here in Jerusalem for a 3 weeks visit, and it has been very enjoyable. We have met a rabbi. That was about 4 days ago, and we spent the Shabbat attending prayers at the Kotel, the Western Wall, and
Beautiful.
very solemn place and awesome. And
So how is the
we had
atmosphere there?
It was very holy. The truth is, Jerusalem is a very holy city, because on that Shabbat, the whole city is locked down. No business, no movements. And we had the privilege to attend. There was a first meal at David's tomb, and there was so much dancing as David danced in his days. We were also at a Shabbat meal for free on that Shabbat afternoon, and it was like 8 to 10 course meal, and that rabbi was feeding more than 100 people for free. So
Wow.
it's a wonderful place. Yeah.
You all need to come to
Exciting.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, I got to get
We
there
went
soon, right?
we just came back from a Dead Sea this evening. That's why I couldn't join live. We were joining back from Dead Sea. There's a lot to see.
Well, thank you
I'll
so
stop there
much.
for now.
Enjoy your time there, Collins, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan,
Yes,
before
Laura.
we close, do we have a class at 4 o'clock with Rabbi Carmi?
No, Rabbi Ingber's playing a concert in Israel tonight,
Okay.
so yeah, he can't make it. No class with Rabbi Ingber today, sadly. But I'll be back on tonight with Shlomo Schwartz. Always do what the rabbis are able. Try to broadcast whatever I can. So, yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, in case the folks here have missed, Rabbi Carmi covered Nehemiah and Jonah, all of those chapters.
Yeah, he did
You guys
Ezra
can find
and
it.
Nehemiah. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent sessions they were, yeah, along with our friends down in Nativ in Houston. A lot of them, lots of good questions coming out of that group. People that are hungry to learn Torah and share. And yeah, my phone's been going off the hook with people from Texas today, wondering if there was a class. And yeah, Rabbi Ingber's playing.
So that everybody knows it's under Working Together title under the Noahide World Center on YouTube. You guys can watch it there. Sorry, Dan, I apologize.
No, that's okay. Yeah, Rabbi Ingber plays a great guitar, and he's recorded some albums. I think he says he's got another album coming out, but he's playing somewhere in Israel on his trip there, and no doubt he can fill his schedule completely, but I'm thankful that he takes the time out. And we didn't see Rabbi Hirschler today, but always a joy when he joins in the class. Always got great insights to share, and it's much appreciated. And Lara, we're glad to see you're safe. A hurricane just came through her region, and I was wondering if she was safe and okay, and glad to see she's okay. I don't know if that hurricane reached you, Lisette. Did it come around the Dominican Republic where you are?
We were so blessed. It turned out to be a storm.
Good, very good.
Glad you're safe. Always good to have you on the class. All right, so I guess we're going to sign out for today. I want to thank everybody for coming in the Zoom meeting and everybody who's viewing there. Make sure you like the video and feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel or Facebook. And we will be back next week with more of our Genesis class. And the following week is up in the air at this moment, but it depends on the rabbi's schedule during the high holidays. And yeah, so we will be back next week. Till then, have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody.
Thank you.